Hello guys, and welcome to this VOLKSWIZARD video. Now if you're a regular visitor to this channel, you'll probably know that I place a lot of importance on tyres and the way they affect the overall performance of a car. There's a hell of a lot of fun to be had from pushing a high performance tyre hard and finding its limits of grip, whether that be on the track or safely on the road. I'm sure a lot of you guys do that as well. But we have to accept not many drivers actually do that. There are a lot of people driving very normal cars very sedately on tyres that would quite happily lap the Nürburgring. For them, choosing a tyre with more all-weather ability at the expense of slightly less dry grip would probably be a very good move. Now in recent years, winter tyres have proven very popular in the UK, but they're not for everybody because you have to store the wheels and tyres somewhere and get them swapped over twice per year. More recently, tyre companies have been marketing all-season tyres, and these trade off just a tiny bit of that dry grip from a summer tyre, but give you a lot more ability when conditions turn nasty, whether it be snow like today or simply in wet weather. Now, I'm a regular user of winter tyres, so I contacted Goodyear and asked them if I could borrow this Golf 8 fitted with their new all-season tyres. It's called the Vector 4 Seasons Gen 3 All-Seasons tyre. It's not a sponsored video, by the way. I'm a big fan of Goodyear tyres. It all started when I got my Golf GTI TCR and it came on Goodyear F1 Asymmetric 5 tyres. And I thought if I'm going to do some work with tyres, I might as well do it with a tyre company that I have a lot of respect for. So they kindly sent me this car. They've also kindly sent me some suitable weather. I can't really believe it. This is the first sort of proper snow of the winter and I've got this car here. So of course, we're going to go and drive it in the snow and see what happens. We're also going to drive it in the wet and dry. But before we go out in the snow, let's just have a closer look at the Goodyear Vector 4 Seasons Gen 3 tyre. Now, I probably should have pointed out that these tyres are designed to stay on your car all year round, unlike winter tyres. There's no need to swap them in the summer for normal summer tyres. I know they look pretty hardcore, but they work perfectly well in the summer as well. There is still a need for winter tyres in certain parts of the UK and other parts of the world, like the Highlands of Scotland, but for most people, most of the time, these will be a better tyre than either normal summer tyres or winter tyres. As a result of that, they do cost a little bit more. They're about 18% more expensive than the equivalent Goodyear Eagle F1 Asymmetric 5. So this tyre here in 225/45/17 is £96. The F1 would be £81. The good news is that they are no more noisy than the F1 Asymmetric 5. They're 70 decibels as per the EU tyre rating, and they're also equal when it comes to fuel economy as well. And having lived with F1 Asymmetric 5s for 6 months and 6,000 miles, they're not a noisy tyre and they're not a particularly high rolling resistance tyre either. They're pretty efficient. Now the way these tyres work is that they've got sipes on them there. This is a big difference over a summer tyre, and that draws snow into the tyre, onto the tyre, and basically coats it with snow, which grips better than rubber in the snow. They've also got broad shoulder sections here, which stop deformation under braking in the dry. That's where these tyres can be quite compromised, but this one is still very good. And they're very good in heavy rain because they've got Goodyear's Aqua Control technology, which gives you deep and wide grooves to improve water dispersion, which is something I'm particularly keen on because I've got a bit of a phobia of driving in really heavy rain. I got caught in a torrential downpour back in August in my TCR on the F1 Asymmetric 5s, and they didn't flinch an inch. So these are better than those, and that's probably more important than the snow which we've got today, at least in the UK. But proving that these tyres are a serious piece of kit, they're approved for use in Germany when the winter tyre laws are in force, so sort of October to April. So you can see they've got the old M&S marker there, mud and snow. They've also got the new 3-peak symbol there to show that they're approved for the new standards that come in fully from 2024. Right, I can't really believe that I've got this car and snow at the same time. So without any further ado, let's go and see what these Goodyear Vector 4 Season Gen 3 tyres can do in the worst of a British winter. Okay, here we are driving then the Golf 8 on the Goodyear Vector 4 Seasons Gen 3 all-season tyres. And we're on a little road I don't actually test cars on very often because it's quite straight, so you can't really load the car up in corners, but it's quite hilly and it's quite scenic and it's quite quiet and it doesn't appear to be gritted, so it's got a good amount of snow on it. I mean, it really doesn't matter how deep the snow is. If there's snow on the road, then summer tyres are going to be very compromised. Now, the thing that's really important to understand about the benefit of these tyres is that 4x4s are no better at braking than two-wheel drive cars, and in many cases an SUV is heavier, so you're asking a lot more of the front tyres to slow those down. So I'd much rather be in this car now, two-wheel drive on these tyres, because I can slow down. I don't have too much of a fear of driving in the winter, but it's like when you try and stop and you can't stop, that's really, really terrifying. I've had that with Golf R's and their normal tyres. So if these tyres can work well like that, then that's really impressive. So let's slow down now from sort of 30 miles an hour. Yeah, there's a bit of ABS activation there. So let's try that again then. So 30 now. I've got to be gentle with the brakes because it makes a big difference. So that's pretty good. No lock-up at all. And then can we get going again? There's a little bit of slip, traction control just engaged then, but we're okay. It's pretty good. It tracks quite well as well. The steering feels pretty normal. There's not a lot of slip there. That's good. This is a bit I'm a bit scared of now. You probably shouldn't stop on a hill like this, but we can always go backwards. Okay. It's a bit funny having an auto because you haven't got control of the clutch fully, but we'll see what it can do. So off we go. I'm hugely impressed with that. Bit of slip there, but only because I indulged in a bit too much throttle, so that's really good. Honestly, summer tyres would not have done that. No way. Wow. Wow. If you can see the dash, you can see the traction control light would be there. Probably come on now if I floor it. No, it's managing it really well, actually. How cool is that? That is really impressive. So braking, steering, traction, they're all really good. I mean, this is, one of the most untouched roads in the area now with this snow, and we're driving it pretty normally. Okay, we've got a nice straight bit now, so let's do a bit of faster braking. Snow is a bit inconsistent at this bit, but let's try 37 miles an hour. And there we are. Just a tiny bit of ABS then at the end just to test it. But ABS is actually not very good for snow because it means that instead of building up one big pile of snow that slows you down, it actually just leaves little ones and you keep on sliding. But yeah, so you don't want ABS activation, which you get a lot of on normal tyres. That is really, really, oh, someone's gone off there. Yeah, okay, let's go and drive it in the wet next. Okay, it's a pretty normal day here in the UK today, thankfully. It's 10 degrees, the roads are a mixture of wet and dry. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to test these tyres in actually properly dry conditions because it's just not going to happen in the UK before I give the car back. But if you want to see how these tyres perform then, I'd recommend you watch a video by the Tyre Reviews channel where they test these tyres and I think 8 other all-season tyres on a warm, like 30 degrees test track, and it just loses 1.5 seconds on a 100-second lap against the normal summer tyres. That's a very marginal difference really, and that's being pushed to its limits, which most drivers won't do on the roads. Now I'm driving on the motorway today at 70 miles an hour because I want you to hear the road noise, because this is where it really matters to the comfort of your journey. Motorway surfaces are pretty consistent, microphones aren't, so I'm using my radio mic on the seatbelt now, but if I unplug that you can hear more what the cabin's like. So yeah, I'd say they're no noisier than a normal summer tyre, no noisier than the Goodyear Eagle F1 asymmetric 5s I've got on my TCR, which is good, and that's reflected in the EU tyre rating, which is pretty good. So yeah, rest assured they're not noisy like winter tyres can be. Some of those can make a very annoying droning noise, sounds like you've got a wheel bearing going, but no, these are pretty refined. Now we've done that though, we can still test this car dynamically on these slightly damp roads, which I said are pretty typical of the UK, whatever time of year it is. So we'll go and find a road a little bit more interesting than this one. Okay, we're now on my favourite little test road. It's probably a favourite of the guys at Jaguar Land Rover because 2 fields that away is their test track at Gaydon. Now I've put this Mark 8 Golf 1.5 ETSI R-Line into sport mode, so we've got red on the instrument cluster to prove it. And it's not any different when it comes to suspension, but we've got a bit more weight in the steering, we've got a bit more throttle response. The passive setup on this car is somewhere in between the Style and the GTI. So the Style was a bit of a wallower when I tested it back in June, and the GTI was pretty hard. This is a comfortable, sporty ride, if that makes sense. And it's a kind of chassis that would feel the benefits of a good tyre. Now, road conditions are pretty average for the UK, so it's 9 degrees. There's a sheen on the road surface confirming that it's wet, and there's mud in places as well on this road. So let's see what we can do. What we want is this tyre to feel like a normal tyre, basically, because normal tyres are very good. They're not very good in snow, this tyre is, but I want to see if there's any trade-off for how good it was in the snow a few days ago when we find ourselves on a nice road like this. Can I enjoy driving on an all-season tyre? So as the motorway driving confirmed, there's no extra noise. In fact, compared to some summer tyres which get really noisy when you load them up and drive on the shoulders, this is pretty consistent, to be perfectly honest. So this is a nice little S-bend here, so let's just tip it in now, and yeah, feels pretty normal, and normal is good because a normal tyre can't do what this did in the snow. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. If you've driven on winter tyres, you'll know that especially when the temperature goes above sort of 7 degrees, they can get a bit skittish and just make the car understeer or do pretty much anything really, because they're not designed to be driven hard at warmer temperatures. But yeah, 9 degrees on these, the car feels pretty normal. That's a really good showing for the Goodyear Vector 4 Seasons Gen 3. Well, it's been a very interesting few days driving this Mark 8 Golf fitted with these Goodyear all-season tyres. Up until now, I've always thought of all-season tyres as a bit too much of a compromise, a jack of all trades but a master of none. But then I'd never really driven on them for very long before, and now I'm actually genuinely impressed by their all-round abilities. The day after I filmed the snowy bit of this video, I drove to work in my Golf R Estate on 4 winters, and to be honest, it didn't feel any more confidence-inspiring than this car, apart from when you pull off from a standstill and you get the benefit of the 4-wheel drive. So yeah, I'm thinking about getting rid of the winter tyres and fitting all-season tyres, but only for the winter for my needs, because in the summer I want to drive on a high-performance summer tyre and get the most out of driving when conditions allow you to do that. But I'm not your typical probably UK driver. For most people, an all-season tyre will be a far better tyre than a summer tyre. It might cost 18% more, but you're going to get 18% more tyre, I think. Anyway, big thanks to Goodyear UK for lending me this Mark 8 Golf, and big thanks to you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, please comment, please share, please subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one, hopefully very soon.